Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this clip, Bishop Barron is talking about prayer, but he's talking about prayer during the season of Lent. As you all know, Lent is starting, and since that is the case, I thought it would be really fascinating to see how Bishop Barron connects these two concepts of Lent and prayer. All right, I have not watched this. This is a certain section of a podcast that Bishop Barron did a few years back. I'm really intrigued to see what he has to say, though. Let's see what he has to say.
Let's talk about each of those three pillars. Maybe we'll spend a good amount of time on each one. So first of all, prayer. Prayer. I think this is the one most obviously people associate with Lent. It tends to be a time when the church in the liturgy and through devotions deepens its intensity of prayer. How do we do this? What do you recommend to Catholics to deepen their prayer during Lent?
First of all, prayer is the raising of the mind and the heart to God, the famous definition from John Damascene. I love that, to raise the mind and the heart to God. It means to attend to God, to be aware of God, to seek communion with God in a conscious way. Raising up of the mind, yes, with all of our consciousness and attentiveness, our perception, our intellectual ability, but also to raise up the heart to God. So our passions and our feelings and our emotions and the longings of our soul, to do that in a very explicit, conscious way is to pray. So I think, this morning I begin every day with a holy hour. And I go into my chapel and I genuflect before the Blessed Sacrament, and then I just enter into this hour of prayer. It involves the office and other things, the rosary and so on. But the basic move is I'm consciously raising my mind and heart to God. It's so easy for us just to lose track of that. So that's what the essence of prayer is. Now, how do you do it? All kinds of practices we could recommend. What's the greatest prayer? The Mass. I'd say to Catholics maybe who've drifted away, if you stop going to Mass on Sunday, Lent is a great time now to say, I am going to go back to Sunday Mass. Do you go to Mass on Sunday? Okay. How about daily Mass during Lent? Or even I'm going to go, twice during the week during Lent. That whatever you're doing in regard to the Mass, raise it a level, intensify it. Maybe enter more deeply into the Mass. Get a study guide or a book or a video or something on the Mass so you can more deeply appreciate it. I mentioned the Rosary. It's a very important prayer. Have you been away from the Rosary for a long time? Well, find it. It's probably in a drawer somewhere in your house, or it's gathering dust somewhere. Find it. Use it. Pray it. If it's difficult for you, maybe try once a week. Each week during Lent, you're going to pray the Rosary. Try it twice a week. I'd recommend pray it every day if you can. The Jesus prayer is one that I've always recommended. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner. That's the whole Jesus prayer. But you can pray it over and again for a minute, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for an hour. Let it become part of the rhythm of your breathing. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Try that prayer during Lent. Devotions, the Stations of the Cross, to go to your local church and to do that prayerful meditation on the death of Jesus. Enter into these devotions maybe you haven't practiced since you were a kid. And you say, oh, it's been so long. Well, okay, Lent's a good time.
So what I'm going to take from Bishop Barron in this clip is that Lent is a season that you can deepen your prayer life. Or if you want to think about it in another way, you can level up your spiritual life. You can level up your spiritual life by praying, by getting a book on Lent, by getting a book on prayer and understanding the Mass and understanding all of the reasons why we as Christians do what we do. I think to go back to what he said about prayer in the beginning with the definition, the famous definition, I'm forgetting the name of the person who gave the definition. But basically prayer is to raise ourselves to God. It's to raise ourselves to contemplation and to become consciously aware of the fact that God is real. And how often do we in our days go out and just completely live, even if we are great Christians, we go to church all the time, we truly love Jesus, we forget that he is with us. We forget that we can pray without ceasing, as the Apostle Paul said we should, commanded us to. So, as you enter this moment and this season, as you reflect on the cross, as you reflect on the sufferings of Christ, be prayerful about it. Maybe give something up. If you love food, if you love meat, poultry, give it up if you can, obviously. Give up coffee. I think that would probably be one of the greatest sufferings that we could all endure. And if you can't give it up every day, at least give it up for a couple of hours for some of us, namely myself, humble confession here. But I think it's so important that we take these rhythms of life, the rhythms of the spiritual life, to really take time to, for a lack of a better way of saying it, become better Christians. Become better Christians for not our own sake or for our own gain, but for the sake of the world. I remember one theologian saying that if you really want to see your sinful nature, just fast for a little bit. We're so enamored, I think is the word. We're just so surrounded by so many luxuries and so many just goods and things that provide satisfaction for us, that when those things, it's just really easy to live a life removed from any physical suffering. Psychological, not so much. I think many of us deal with psychological suffering, but the physical suffering is just not there. And it's good for us at times to discipline ourselves in order so that we might grow. If you're in a rut, if you're in a very, very bad kind of spiritual rut, I think one of the best ways that you can get out of that rut is to change things up. And there's no real better place to start than with prayer. That's what I'm taking from Bishop Barron in this clip. All right, that's all I have. Please be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Remember that Christianity is Christ. Without Christ, there is no Christianity. Peace.